All right, Raiders fans, buckle up because this one's going to be a wild ride. The trade deadline is closing in, and the Las Vegas Raiders are sitting in a tough spot with a 2-5 record. That means people around the league are starting to make calls, rumors are swirling, and the big question everyone wants to know is this: who could actually be on the move before the deadline hits? Now, I thought about ranking potential trade candidates, but let's be real. There's only one player that feels like a true lock to get dealt. You probably already guessed it: Jakobi Meyers. But before we dive into that name, let's talk about several other guys who might draw interest, even if the Raiders aren't actively shopping them. Because if other teams are trying to win right now, these are the players they're calling Vegas about. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball, which is a little unusual because most of the time I begin with the offense. But this time, the defense deserves the spotlight. The first name that comes to mind is Adam Butler. He's 31 years old, and he just signed that 3-year extension during the offseason. To be honest, he hasn't quite lived up to the expectations that fans had when the Raiders decided to bring him back. Still, Butler might be the best defensive tackle on this roster, and that alone makes him valuable. The tricky part here is financial. The Raiders have already paid his 2026 salary, so trading him would mean eating a few $1 million in dead money. But when you think about the big picture, that's not exactly a massive number in the NFL world. If a team came calling and said, "Hey, we'll give you a decent draft pick and we'll take that contract off your hands," you'd have to at least consider it. Especially since the Raiders have already drafted a couple of young defensive tackles like J.J. Pages and Taka Hemingway, who could use more playing time. Teams are always desperate for interior linemen who can pressure the quarterback. So while I think the odds of Butler actually being traded are small, it wouldn't be a total shock if it happened. Now, moving on to another defensive name that everyone's talking about, Tyree Wilson. If you didn't expect to hear his name today, then you probably haven't been following this team very closely. Tyree was the 7th overall pick in the 2023 draft, and to be blunt, his development has been frustrating. There have been flashes of real potential, moments where you think, all right, that's why he went top 10, but there have also been long stretches where he disappears or looks completely lost. Part of that might be the constant turnover around him. 3 different coaching regimes in 3 seasons would mess with anyone's progress. Now, the Raiders are facing a tough decision because they'll need to decide soon whether to pick up his 5th-year option, and it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. If Tyree still looks the same after working with a respected defensive line coach like Rob Leonard, then maybe a change of scenery would be best for everyone involved. Another team might look at his size, athleticism, and draft pedigree and think they can unlock what Vegas couldn't. That's why, even if the Raiders aren't trying to move him, his name keeps popping up in trade discussions. The next player who could draw interest is Malcolm Koonce. Some fans might roll their eyes and say, "Why are we trying to trade away our whole defensive line?" But the truth is, the Raiders don't have many other assets that would bring a real return. No linebacker is moving the needle in trade talks, and outside of Jeremy Chin, there isn't a single defensive back that opposing teams are eager to get their hands on. But defensive ends who can get after the quarterback, those are always in demand. Koonce was a hot name last offseason when people thought he might command $20 million per year on the open market. The Raiders gave him a 1-year extension instead, but this season he hasn't looked the same. He struggled to find rhythm, and with free agency looming, the front office might decide to get something for him now rather than lose him for nothing later. His value probably sits somewhere around a 5th or 6th round pick, which might not sound great, but that's likely the best you're getting for a player in his situation. And now, the big one, Maxx Crosby. Let's just be clear, I don't believe the Raiders will trade Crosby. I don't think they want to, and I don't think fans would ever forgive them if they did. But that doesn't mean the rumors won't continue, because every single NFL team, literally all 31 others, would love to have him. He's one of the top edge rushers in football, a leader, a tone setter, an emotional heartbeat of this team. The only reason his name even gets mentioned in these conversations is because of the way his contract is structured. Crosby and his agent front-loaded the deal, making it financially possible for Vegas to move him a couple of years down the line if they ever decided to blow it all up. Based on what I've heard, that's not on the table right now, but maybe 2 or 3 years from now, depending on how this rebuild unfolds, It could be. Still, as of today, Crosby isn't going anywhere. He's the kind of player you build around, not the kind you let go. With the defense covered, let's flip over to the offensive side because there are a few names there that are starting to generate some buzz too. The first one is Aiden O'Connell. I know, he's currently on injured reserve, so technically he can't be traded right now. But hear me out. The moment he's healthy again, there's going to be a lot of noise from fans demanding that he replace Geno Smith as the starter. The problem is the Raiders made a huge investment in Geno. They traded for him, extended him, and publicly backed him as their guy. On top of that, they brought in Kenny Pickett, and the coaching staff clearly sees him as the next man up if Geno struggles again. That means O'Connell is stuck as quarterback number 3, and he might be too talented to sit on the bench forever. Another team looking for a reliable backup could see value there. Would Vegas move him for a late-round pick? Maybe. If the right offer came along, it wouldn't shock me. Then there's Dylan Parham. Drafted back in 2022, he's been a steady but unspectacular presence on the offensive line. He's versatile. He can play multiple spots across the line, and that's something teams love. But he's also in the final year of his rookie deal, and it's unclear whether the Raiders plan to keep him long-term. With younger linemen like Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant waiting for opportunities, the front office could decide it's time to see what they've got in those guys. Parham could bring back a mid to late round pick, especially from a team desperate for interior depth. Think about it. There are always a few playoff contenders who lose linemen to injury in October, and they'll gladly give up a 6th-round pick for someone who can step in and play right away. But the real tension on offense right now revolves around Jackson Powers-Johnson, or JPJ. And this one, honestly, frustrates a lot of fans. JPJ looks like the kind of player you build an offensive line around. Strong, smart, and explosive off the snap. Yet for some reason, this coaching staff just doesn't seem to value him the same way the fan base does. He's been forced to compete for a spot while other players get handed starting jobs, and it makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. From everything I've seen, JPJ should be untouchable. But there's a feeling that this front office might not see it that way. If another team calls with an offer, say a 4th or 5th round pick, would they actually consider it? It shouldn't happen, but the way things have been going in Las Vegas, you can't rule anything out. And then, of course, we circle back to the main storyline, the one name that keeps coming up no matter how many times people deny it. Jakobi Meyers. It's pretty clear at this point that he wants out. He didn't play against Kansas City, and sources close to the team are suggesting he's done wearing silver and black. He wants a new contract. He wants a new situation, and it feels like the Raiders are finally ready to listen to offers. Multiple teams have already reached out, and unless something changes fast, it's hard to imagine him staying past the deadline. I'd say there's close to a 90% chance that Meyers is dealt before November 4th. So, when you look at all these names, Butler, Wilson, Kuntz, Crosby, O'Connell, Parham, Powers-Johnson, and Meyers, it's clear that the Raiders are at crossroads. Some of these players represent the past, some the future, and others are caught somewhere in between. The front office has to decide whether they're trying to win now or rebuild for later, because right now, this roster feels stuck in the middle. And with the trade deadline just days away, every decision they make could shape the direction of this franchise for years to come. As the trade deadline creeps closer, the pressure inside the Raiders organization keeps building. The front office knows they can't keep drifting through the season with a 2-5 record and pretend everything is fine. Something has to give, and the players can feel it. In the locker room, conversations have started to shift. Guys are wondering who might get the call, whose name will pop up on the ticker during the next batch of breaking news. The atmosphere isn't toxic yet, but it's tense. Everyone's trying to stay professional, but you can sense that quiet uncertainty in the air. It's what happens when a team that had playoff dreams starts to realize that the rest of the season might just be about survival. The Raiders' struggles this year haven't been about one player or one mistake. It's been a combination of everything. The offense has looked disjointed, the defense can't stay consistent, and the coaching staff has made some questionable calls that leave fans shaking their heads. The promise that came with hiring Pete Carroll and pairing him with Chip Kelly hasn't materialized yet. There are flashes of what this team could be, but the results aren't there. And when you combine poor results with high salaries and a new leadership group trying to shape the roster in its image, that's when trades start to happen. Let's talk about what a trade really means in this situation. It's not just about getting rid of players or giving up on a season. It's about sending a message. If the Raiders move on from someone like Jakobi Meyers, they're not just trading a receiver. They're saying that no one is untouchable except maybe Maxx Crosby. It's about setting the tone for the kind of culture this new regime wants to build. Do they want veterans who speak out and demand change? Or do they want younger, moldable players who will buy into whatever system they put in place? That's what makes this moment so defining. The whispers around Meyers have only grown louder. Teammates know he's frustrated. He came to Vegas expecting stability, consistency, a chance to shine next to a star receiver and a veteran quarterback. Instead, he's watched the offense collapse week after week, and he's been used like an afterthought in key situations. When he sat out against the Chiefs, it wasn't just a coincidence. It was the beginning of the end. The relationship between player and team feels fractured, and unless there's some kind of miracle turnaround, it's hard to see him playing another down for Las Vegas. And honestly, it's a shame because Meyers has the kind of skill set that fits perfectly in a balanced offense. He's tough, reliable, and doesn't need 10 targets to make an impact. But he wants to win, and right now, that's not happening here. If Meyers does get traded, it opens another set of questions. Who steps up? The Raiders don't exactly have a deep receiver room. Davante Adams is still the alpha, but he's dealing with double teams on nearly every snap. Beyond that, the depth is paper thin. The team might have to rely more on young players or use the running backs in the passing game to fill the gap. And then there's the psychological effect. Losing a teammate mid-season, especially one who's respected, can shake a locker room. It reminds players that football is a business first, loyalty second. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could become the shocker of the NFL offseason, whispers around the league suggest that star wide receiver D.K Metcalf has officially parted ways with the Pittsburgh Steelers and is now reportedly headed to Las Vegas. Sources close to the matter indicate that the Raiders have swooped in with a mega contract that could redefine the landscape of their offense and potentially the entire AFC West. While neither team has released formal statements, the chatter is impossible to ignore. Metcalf, known for his rare combination of size, speed, and catch radius, would instantly become the centerpiece of Las Vegas' aerial attack. Raiders fans, long yearning for a true deep threat weapon, are reportedly buzzing at the mere possibility of seeing Metcalf line up alongside their talented receiving core. Insiders hint that the deal could make Metcalf one of the highest-paid receivers in the league, a move that signals Las Vegas' intention to compete at the highest level immediately. The Steelers, meanwhile, are said to be entering a period of recalibration, with questions mounting about how they will fill the void left by Metcalf's departure. While Pittsburgh has always emphasized a balanced attack, losing a player of Metcalf's caliber is bound to reshape both their passing game and team identity. Some speculate that this move might also free up salary cap space for Pittsburgh to chase other marquee targets, though the immediate reaction from fans seems to be one of stunned disbelief. League insiders are already dissecting the ripple effects. Could this shift spark a new era of rivalry intensity between the Raiders and the Steelers? Will Metcalf's presence in Las Vegas tip the scales in the AFC West race? Analysts are divided, but most agree on one thing. If this deal goes through as rumored, it will instantly become one of the most talked about moves of the offseason. For now, the NFL world waits in anticipation, scouring every report and tweet for confirmation. One thing is certain. The mere rumor of D.K Metcalf in silver and black has already sent shockwaves through the league, and the coming days may reveal just how bold the Raiders are willing to be in their pursuit of dominance. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.